Okay, this is part two of our series, lesson 24, where we're looking at the week two opening bids. Now, in part one, we've looked at the situation of how to make an opening bid of a week two, what it shows, what kind of hand you would make an opening week two on. So let's just remember a week two shows a weak hand. Normally around 5 to 9 high card points, sometimes 10 high card points is okay, and it shows a good 6 card suit in either diamonds, hearts, or spades, whichever suit you are bidding. It should be quite a good suit, otherwise you are going to get yourself into trouble by may end up playing a contract with a very poor trump suit, so you wouldn't want to do that. Okay, so that's what a week two opening shows. So now we need to think about what you do when your partner makes a week two opening bid. How would you respond? So the first thing that comes up really is a lot of hands, a lot of times when your partner makes a week two opening bid, whatever sort of hand you've got, if you haven't got support for your partner, then often you're going to be passing. Okay, it's very rare that you would bid a different suit. There is an example coming up. So often you might have to pass, but if you've got support for your partner, then you may well want to raise the bid, and you might want to bid more constructively. And that's what we're going to look at. But don't forget, your partner is showing a 6 card suit. So actually, in some situations, you're only going to need to have 2 cards to support your partner, because 6 cards in their hand and 2 in yours is an 8 card trump fit. So there are situations where it might be appropriate to bid, even if we've only got 2 card support for your partner. So let's have a look at some examples of how to respond when you have support for your partner. Okay, so how do we respond when we have some support for our opener's week two opening bid? So the first situation, it comes up probably the most commonly, where you have some support, but you don't really have a strong hand, and you know there's nowhere near enough for game. Remember, your partner's got quite a weak hand, probably 5 to 9, maybe 10 points. Okay, so they don't have a strong hand, and you should be able to tell quite quickly that there won't be enough points for game unless you've got a very strong hand, and we'll look at those in a minute. So normally you're going to be looking at your hand thinking, well, I've got some support, but there's no way we've really got enough to genuinely be in game. But here, what you do is a technique that we saw before with weak jump over calls. We raise to the level of the fit. And that means if we've got 3 trump support for our 3 card support in the trump suit that our partner's nominated, we could raise to the 3 level. And if we've got 4 card trump support for the suit that our partners bid, we could even raise to the 4. Now, that is bidding preemptively. What we're trying to do there is recognizing our partner has already tried to preempt the opponents. They've stuck that wrecking ball into the auction to make life hard for the opponents, and we are making it harder still, building on their preemptive action. So we're simply extending the preemptive action that they have already taken by raising the level of the contract to either the 3 or the 4 level. We don't genuinely expect the contract to make. We're probably going to go off, but we're trying to make our life really hard for the opponents. Hopefully the opponents will not be able to find their right contract, and even if we go 1 or 2 off in the contract that we finally end up with, or the partner finally ends up in, that would be better than allowing our opponents to make either a game or possibly even a slam bonus, and score a lot more points on the hand. So often we're bidding here just to be obstructive, not expecting that the contract will make. The key thing is, when you've opened a week two and your partner raises it, you don't bid again. They are not inviting game, they are extending the level of the preempt. They are not asking you whether to bid again. So opener in this situation should never bid again. That's a huge mistake. A lot of players fall into that trap. If you bid again as opener, you'll probably end up getting doubled and going off. Okay, so let's look at another situation. The other situation that sometimes comes up is your partner's opened a week two and you've got quite a good hand, maybe 16 or more high card points, but you can't be quite sure whether you have enough for game here, because it might depend on how strong they are and what type of hand they've got. So there is a bid that a lot of people use in this situation, situation. It's two no trump. It's an inquiry bid, and there are different ways to play this. I'm not going to teach it in this video, and I'm not going to teach it to the students working with me at the moment. It's in the Beginning Bridge Book 1, the eBed book, Beginning Bridge Book 1. It's page 124 if you want to refer to it. There are other teachers who use that two no trump in a different way. There's a convention that some people use in that situation that's quite handy, but it's a lot more advanced, and I'm not going to use it. So we're not going to be looking at hands that fall into that type of situation. But that's a bit more advanced, and you can learn that later on in your bridge development. Okay, but the third type of hand that we might have is one where we've got support for partner, but we've got a really strong hand, and we'll look at a few of these. How we would know we've got a strong hand here is we're looking at what we call quick tricks. Okay, if we've got 4 or more certain quick tricks that we can make, we would raise to game here. So if partner opened 2 spades, we would raise to 4 spades. And unlike that first category we were looking at, where you raise to the level of the fit, here we're actually raising confidently to game, expecting it to make because we have got a good hand. Okay. Now, quick tricks, this is the key to this. What are quick tricks? So a way to look at your hand and work out if you've got quick tricks is, firstly, look at the trump suit that your partner's bid. If you've got the ace, king or queen, each of those is worth 1 certain trick for your partner if they ended up playing in a contract here. So they are worth 1 quick trick. And in the outside suits, in any other suit, you can't really assume there's going to be many rounds of that suit played. But what you can do is look at the top honours you've got, and if you've got the ace and the king, that would be 2. If you've got the ace and the queen, treat that as 1.5. The king and the queen would be worth 1, and just a protected king with another card would be worth half a trick. And you can add those up. We'll have a look at an example of that. If you've got more than 4 quick tricks, it's often best to raise to game, even if you've only got 2 trump support for your partner's week 2 opening bid. And we'll look at some examples of that. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at the first example, which is where we're supporting with a weak hand, and we're bidding to the level of the fit. So here's some examples here. Okay, so our partner's opened 2 spades. The next player to bid has passed. Our right-hand opponent has passed. It's our turn to bid. Let's have a look. Here's a hand that we've got here, hand H. It's only got 10 high card points. Partner has got between 5 and 9 probably, so there's certainly nowhere near enough points between us for a game contract. What is our best bid here? Well, remember that South is now, well, you can probably work it out. South probably got a good hand here. You haven't got a great deal of points. Partner's got quite a weak hand. We don't know enough about North, but they weren't strong enough to come in. So it's quite likely South's got a fairly strong hand here, and North-South may well have a contract available to themselves. Let's make life really hard here. Partner's got a 6-card spade suit. We've got 3 cards in support, so we can simply bid 3 spades. Okay. Now what that is extending the preempt. Partner has preempted by opening 2 spades, then making life hard for their opponents. We continue to make life hard for our opponents by raising the preempt to the 3 level. We don't actually expect that even our partner might not even make 3 spades if we ended up playing in 3 spades. But what we're trying to do is stop our opponents finding they've probably got a heart fit here, and if they can find 4 hearts, they may well make a game bonus and score a lot of points on this hand. So we'd be much happier going 1 or 2 off in 3 spades if we had to stop them finding their 4 heart game contract bonus. So simply all we do is we add the number of spades in our hand, which is 3, to the 6 that we know that's in West's hand. That makes 9 in total, so we can bid for 9 tricks. We bid to the level of the fit. The level of the fit is 9 trumps. We bid for 9 tricks. To make 9 tricks, you would bid 3 spades. Another example here. Now we've got 4 card support for partner. We've got a nice club suit, but there's no chance whatsoever of us reaching game here. There's no point in us bidding our club suit because we've got a great fit with partner. Partner's got 6 spades, we've got 4, so we want to play in spades. The question now is, how many spades do we bid? Clearly there aren't enough for game, so if we bid here, we're not expecting to make a game contract, but once again we're bidding to keep the opponents out. Maybe they can make 3 hearts, maybe they can make 4 hearts. We don't want them to make a contract at all. So here we can be even more preemptive because we have 4 card trump support. support, we can bid 4 spades. And the way we work that out is we assume partner's got 6 spades for their opening week 2 bid. We've got 4, that's 10 trumps in total between us in the spade suit. We can therefore bid confidently for 10 tricks. Okay, we may not make 10 tricks, don't forget, but we can bid for 10 tricks, so we bid for spades. That's made life really hard now, because South, if they want to bid now, they have to come in at the 5 level, and that's quite risky, and they may not do that, and they may miss their best contract, of course. Okay, so remember, all we're doing here is making preemptive raises with weakish hands. This is the most common type of response that you will get with a week 2. So simply bidding to the level of the fit. We don't expect our partner to even make the contract, but we are swinging that wrecking ball even harder to make life harder for our opponents. And that's the tactics that we're applying here. This is all about tactically bidding to stop your opponents finding their best contract. So the other type of hand we talked about when you are responding to your partner's week 2 with support is when you've got quite a strong hand, and a strong hand with what we called 4 or more quick tricks. And in that situation, we may well want to raise to game with the expectation that we could actually make a game contract here. So let's see what that's all about. Okay, let's look at the first hand first. Hand K. Here, let's not add, our points are not what's important here. We need to think about quick tricks. This is the important thing. These are freaky hands that we're playing here now, so we need to think about how many quick tricks could we get. If partner was to play in a spade contract, well, our ace of spades is certainly going to be worth a trick for partner if they play in spades, but they've got 6 spades, they're missing the ace, so the ace has filled a gap for them. That's one certain trick. That ace and king of diamonds are both worth a trick each, and our queen and king of clubs are certainly going to be worth a trick, unless somebody's roughing the second round of clubs, which is probably unlikely. So we're very much expecting to make a quick trick in clubs, 2 quick tricks in diamonds, and even that heart king might be worth a trick, so we value that as half a trick, because a protected king can only be valued as about half. So here we have got 1, 2, 3, 4 tricks and a half tricks, 4.5 quick tricks. So what that means is we can bid confidently to 4 spades. Now here, we're not just bidding to the level of the fit, we are actually confidently expecting to make. If you look at our points, another way to value the hand is to look at points. Of course, we've got 14, we've got 19 points here. Partner's probably got, they may only have 5. So even if you add it up on points here, it's probably going to be just about enough, assuming they haven't got an absolute minimum. But it's not about points, it's about how many quick tricks can we make here. Remember, once you get freaky hands, and West has got a freaky hand, they've got a 6-card unbalanced hand, points are not quite so useful to value our hand. It's much more about the trick-taking capability of our hands that will come into play when we play in these suit contracts with unbalanced hands. So actually, West opens 2 spades, we would bid to 4 spades here, confidently expecting to make. Let's have a look at another example. Hand L. Again, they've opened 2 spades. Now, it's very likely that our ace and our queen of spades will fill gaps in their trump suit. So they're probably worth 1.5 tricks, or possibly 2 tricks. So let's value them at 2 tricks because it's the trump suit, okay? So 2 tricks there. The club suit is definitely going to be worth 1 trick. We should assume that the opponents have got the ace. Don't forget partner's weak, so partner's unlikely to have the ace of clubs in his hand. So it's very likely that the king and the queen will generate 1 trick for us, and the ace and queen of diamonds are worth 1.5 tricks if we use this here. For the guide here is that for outside suits, an ace queen is worth 1.5. So we've got 1.5 in diamonds, 1 in clubs, that's 2.5 tricks, and 2 more, that's 4.5 tricks. Again, we would be well worth a raise to 4 spades here because we've got some quick tricks. So we're not bidding to the level of the fit. We're far too strong for that. We've got much more trick-taking potential in our hand, and we would bid 4 spades expecting to make. We've made life hard for the opponents. They don't know whether we're bidding to the level of the fit in the hands that we had on the previous example, or whether we're bidding out of genuine strength. That's made life even more hard for them. They'll have to guess. Partner can't bid again anyway. They mustn't bid again after opening a preempt. So it looks like we've won the auction in 4 spades. And if the opponents can come in now, well, good luck to them. They're probably not going to make whatever they come in with. Okay, so that's how you deal with these much stronger types of hand. This is quite rare that you're going to get a hand as good as this when your partner's made a preemptive week 2 opening, but it does happen, and this is how you should value your hand and bid appropriately if you can. So sometimes this comes up, it's quite rare, but you might want to consider the situations where you have to bid a new suit. Now, if you were to respond with a new suit after your partner's opened a week 2, don't use it as a rescue. You're not saying to partner, I know you've got a weak hand, I've also got a weak hand, but I think my suit's better than yours. That's not very useful, because it's quite, if you think about it, if you're short in their suit and you've got a good long suit of your own, they may well be short in that as well. And so just trying to bid your suit it becomes a sort of shouting match about who's got the best suit, and that's not going to be very constructive, and you may end up bidding too high. However, if you have a good long suit and a decent hand, it may well be worth bidding. So if the 2 level is available to you, you could bid at the 2 level. That would be highly encouraging. It's not actually forcing, but it would show a good hand. At the 3 level, if you were to bid a new suit at the 3 level, that's game forcing. So you would need a really good hand with a good long suit. So if you open a week 2 and your partner responds a new suit at the 3 level, that's forcing to game. Okay, and that means they've really got the goods in their suit and have a good strong hand. One thing is, whenever you bid a new suit, you are denying a fit. So opener should not insist on rebidding their suit again. That is going to get into all sorts of problems if they rebid their suit. They must understand that you're showing what's potentially a better suit than theirs and a stronger hand, and you're now in charge of the auction. So let's have a look at an example here. Here, West has got a hand. They're going to open 2 diamonds with this. If they're in opening position, they may well choose to open 2 diamonds here, 9 high card points and a decent 6 card diamond suit. Let's assume that the opponents don't make any bids for now to keep the auction simple. And here's East's hand. Now they've got 7 cards in spades, and they haven't got any support for diamonds. Crucially, there's no point in them raising diamonds, but because their suit is spades, obviously we'd rather play in a major suit anyway. It's well worth them bidding 2 spades here. Okay, that's saying to partner, I haven't got support for diamonds, I've got quite a good hand, and I've probably got a better suit than yours. All right, so now West knows that there is a spade fit, because East must be bidding with at least 6 spades to have made that bid. So there's a spade fit, and East must have quite a good hand as well. So let's raise to 4 spades. And if you look, East is happy to play in 4 spades. If you look at that, there are 7 spade tricks available to East. They're also going to make the ace of hearts and 2 top diamonds. There's 10 tricks available. So 4 spades would be quite a good contract there. Now, that's pretty rare that you actually come up with this situation where you bid a new suit. But what this does show is the kind of hand where it would apply. If you haven't got a hand as good as this, and you've got a 7 card spade, so it's probably just best to pass openers 2 diamond bid and let the opponents try and find how they can get into the auction. So there's a good example of that. All right, so these are some of the responses to week 2 opening bids. That's not all of them. As I say, there are some other conventions and systems that people use, but this is an introduction to the key points of responding to week 2s. In the 3rd part of this series, we're going to look briefly at what the opponents do when you have made a week 2 bid. If you've come in with a week 2 and stopped them, how do they deal with it? Okay, I'll see you in parts 3. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks.